Welcome to this deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to take your stack of sources, those notes, articles, research you've gathered, and really pull out the key nuggets.
Yeah, give you that shortcut to being well-informed on this specific topic.
And today, our focus is pretty sharp. We're looking at notes and highlights from a recent Lafayette Chamber of Commerce Connectors meeting.
Right, plus some related material you sent over that helps paint the bigger picture, the whole local ecosystem these folks operate in.
Exactly. So we're looking beyond just, who was there. It's about getting a feel for the flow of services, talent, the nonprofits, what's really happening on the ground in Lafayette. And reviewing your notes, one of the first things that just immediately jumped out was this incredibly unique networking format they used.
It sounds really different, doesn't it? Not your standard affair. The notes describe something really designed for, genuine connection, moving past just the superficial chat.
Oh.
And it seemed like it brought together a real mix, too. Services, creatives, nonprofits, the whole range. That detail was definitely highlighted as something, different.
It really was. The meeting itself sounds like it was buzzing. Great turnout, really diverse crowd, business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and then this networking musical chairs thing run by Fred Steinraft. How did your notes say that actually worked?
Okay, so it was rapid fire, really fast. You could pair it up for just 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Wow, that's intense.
Right. And after that quick chat, bam, rotate to a new partner. That speed just forces everyone to be super concise. Get right to the point.
But there was that brilliant twist, wasn't there? The thing that changed the whole dynamic.
Yes. And this is where it gets really interesting. After all those quick rounds, everyone had to stand up.
Okay.
And introduce the last person they'd talk to the whole group.
Introduce them to everyone. That is brilliant. It completely flips the script, doesn't it? You can't just be thinking about your own pitch or zoning out.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're responsible for representing someone else accurately. It forces serious active listening and synthesizing what you just heard fast, way beyond just swapping cards.
Exactly. That detail alone tells you so much about the intention behind these meetings. It's clearly about building real relationships, not just, collecting contacts.
It really does. Your notes also mentioned the chamber staff, Holly and Grace, were there too, kind of handling logistics before the main networking kicked off.
Right, keeping things running smoothly, getting projects handled before the open chat. Okay, so that ingenious networking format really sets the tone. Let's dive into the substance then. What did people share? What snapshot did your notes give us of the local business ecosystem?
A really interesting mix, actually. Starting with legal services, Patrick's practice came up. He handles, the standard business law stuff. Startups, contracts, M&A.
Mergers and acquisitions, right. Pretty typical corporate legal work.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. The note said roughly 75% of his work is actually estate planning.
75%. Focused on estate planning for a business lawyer. That's really specific. What does that tell us? Is it about established wealth or maybe something about California law?
Well, it strongly suggests a huge local need. Right? Especially among Lafayette and East Bay homeowners dealing with California's, let's face it, complex probate system.
Particularly with high property values, yeah.
Exactly. So his focus on making trusts and estate plans simple and affordable, that's clearly hitting a major local pain point. Shows a community thinking ahead, protecting assets.
Simple, affordable estate planning for California homeowners. Makes total sense. Okay, what about the financial side?
Fred Steinraft, the guy who ran the network, and he's in financial advisory.
Yeah.
And your notes caught this interesting nuance about his role. He sees a big part of his job as being an emotional counselor for his clients.
An emotional counselor in finance. How does that work?
It's more than just picking stocks. The notes described him helping clients navigate all the feelings tied up with money, the anxiety, the hopes, the fears, especially when the markets get choppy.
Ah, okay. So acknowledging that money decisions aren't just numbers on a page, they're deeply emotional.
Precisely. It adds that human dimension, helping people manage their feelings about the market, not just the portfolio itself.
That's a valuable service.
Yeah. And his take on things like tariffs and market conditions was described as, measured, kind of a don't panic for long-term investors vibe, not like past crises.
Okay.
And interestingly, your notes also mentioned someone else there was using AI to understand tariff impacts right down at the local level.
AI for tariff impacts. In a local community setting like that, that's a really potent example of how these big global issues and advanced tech are actually being used on the ground, isn't it?
For sure. Shows that tech integration isn't just for the big guys.
Yep.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Healthcare and wellness. What did your notes show there?
quite a bit of variety here, too. Corinne, an acupuncturist and spiritual coach, was there, representing that more holistic side of things, overall well-being, spiritual awareness.
And she's involved in making things accessible too, right?
She is. She chairs the Lafayette Business Women's Group, and they do this clever thing alternating meeting times. Morning 1 month, afternoon the next.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, your notes highlighted it as a really practical way to help people with different schedules actually attend. Makes participation easier.
That kind of practical detail makes a huge difference for community engagement. What else on the health front?
There was a new chiropractor mentioned setting up shop, and their approach sounds incredibly specific, like really focused.
How specific are we talking?
They focus only on the C1 and C2 vertebrae. Just those two, the very, very top ones in the neck. Wow, that's niche.
Super niche. It's described as objective, measurement-based, functional. And apparently that kind of specialization is pretty rare, especially in the East Bay.
Yeah.
They're actively looking for office space, which, flags a clear local growth opportunity. Someone saw a gap.
A highly specialized new service coming in, and the notes also included a nonprofit active in the wellness space.
Yes, the cancer support community, they do absolutely vital work, but it's the non-medical support. Things like support groups, workshops, exercise programs for patients and their families.
That wraparound support is so crucial.
Totally. And the representative apparently shared some personal connections to the mission, which just underscores the deep human impacts of what they do.
Right.
So, yeah, this whole mix really paints a picture of Lafayette having this well-rounded local ecosystem for well-being.
Right.
From the super specialized physical care to holistic approaches, and then that essential emotional and social support from the nonprofits.
Definitely seems that way. Okay, moving on to the creative sector, your notes showed a strong pulse there as well.
Absolutely. Molly, an artist, she's working on opening her own studio. So another potential new local creative hub.
And Miriam sounded interesting, a preschool teacher, but she also organizes art shows.
Yeah, across the Bay Area. It's a unique combo. She's essentially building bridges, connecting local artists directly with buyers. That's huge for creatives, helping them find an audience and market.
Definitely. You also noted landscape design folks, Kristen doing residential projects, and Maureen specializing in more high-end residential gardens.
That's right. And then there was Kat, the goldsmith.
Ah, yes. But the notes specifically pointed out her experience 40 years.
40 years. I mean, that kind of deep traditional craft knowledge, it's becoming really rare these days. Her shop does custom work, repairs, appraisals, even repurposes old jewelry.
Wow. 40 years is serious expertise, someone you'd absolutely trust with, like a family heirloom. She sounds like a true community asset, preserving a really valuable craft. What does that say about Lafayette, that a craft like that is still thriving? Does it point to valuing legacy, maybe?
That's a great point. It suggests a community that maybe values authenticity, quality, perhaps a connection to tangible handmade things, even in our super digital world. That kind of deep-rooted expertise becomes part of the local identity, doesn't it?
Totally. Like a living piece of local history. Okay, what about essential business services? Cleaning, organizing, that sort of thing.
Catherine's was mentioned. She represents a third-generation commercial cleaning and organizing company.
Third generation. Wow, that speaks volumes.
It really does. About stability, deep roots, proven capability,
Yeah.
And they're looking to expand locally, which suggests things are going well and they have confidence in the area.
Good sign.
Logan was also briefly mentioned in similar services, so maybe newer players alongside these established family businesses.
Okay. Now, earlier we touched on AI popping up with the tariff discussion. Your notes also had a specific section highlighting AI integration being pretty active in the local scene.
Yes, it was almost like a little highlight reel of how local folks are actually using AI and digital tools right now, not just talking about it. It showed this kind of forward-thinking current running alongside the more traditional businesses.
What were some of the practical examples they were sharing?
Well, we heard about using AI for email marketing tools like mail-off data were mentioned, helping personalize outreach, optimize when emails land. Stephanie Marone in real estate is apparently using AI for highly targeted marketing.
Like finding specific buyers.
Yeah, imagine identifying empty nesters or maybe downsizers with, like, surgical precision based on online behavior. Kim Ryle is building digital media platforms and brands. And Abe Nasser is leveraging SEO.
Search engine optimization.
Right. And digital publishing through platforms like Publisher and the Speaker's Edge to really boost their online visibility, making sure they get found when people are searching.
So it's really not just abstract talk about AI. These are local businesses actively integrating it day to day. What does seeing that blend, the new tools alongside that deep established expertise like the Goldsmith, what does that tell us about the community's dynamism? Does embracing tech that fast ever cause friction, maybe leave some traditional folks feeling behind?
That's a really important question. It suggests a community that's definitely not afraid to innovate and adapt. They seem to see how new tech can actually enhance traditional strengths. And yeah, rapid tech adoption can create challenges for those slower on the uptake, but the emphasis we saw on networking and education within the chamber,
Yeah.
it feels like that's designed to bridge those potential divides.
Right, fostering shared learning maybe.
Exactly. Rather than isolation, it points to a dynamic environment that seems to value both its heritage and progress.
That makes sense. Okay, let's shift focus now to the nonprofit sector. Your notes really seem to emphasize their presence. Sounds like there's a lot of heart driving that side of the community.
Incredible heart, absolutely. And real impact with a surprisingly wide range, too. Period balls, for instance.
Period balls, what's their focus?
Oh, such heartwarming work. They provide warm clothes to kids in hospitals, and they grant wishes through character visits.
Character visits, like costumed characters.
Yes. The notes specifically mention Moana and even mermaids visiting sick children.
Mermaids. Visiting kids in the hospital, that is genuinely heartwarming, bringing that kind of unique joy in really tough circumstances. Does that kind of creative, non-medical support, does it highlight gaps in traditional care, or is it more about supplementing it in a really unique way?
It's definitely a powerful supplement. It really highlights that deep need for emotional, psychological support that traditional medical care, which is obviously vital, sometimes just can't fully address on its own.
Mm-hmm.
These kinds of initiatives add this layer of joy, maybe normalization, that's so important for kids facing tough health challenges. And they also focus on philanthropy education, teaching kids about giving back early on.
That's fantastic. What other nonprofits stood out from the notes?
ER was mentioned. They do incredibly tough but absolutely crucial work with foster youth, finding safe places, providing essential daily support. That addresses such a fundamental, often urgent community need.
Absolutely vital work, often behind the scenes too.
For sure. And the arts were represented on the nonprofit side as well, through the European Foundation. Gina, the chair and managing director, was there. They connect performing arts with the community, support local cultural initiatives, adding that layer of enrichment.
Right.
So yeah, from mermaids bringing smiles to fundamental support for foster youth to arts enrichment, the nonprofit sector sounds just deeply committed to well-being and really operating hand in hand with the business side. They seem completely woven together, not like separate silos at all.
Truly interwoven. Okay, now beyond the specific businesses and nonprofits, were there any upcoming community developments or maybe broader concepts mentioned in your source material that shed more light on this whole scene?
Yeah, definitely some forward energy noted. A big piece of news is the Lafayette Scoop ice cream shop opening in June.
Ah, ice cream. Always a good sign for community life, right?
Totally. And this isn't just any ice cream shop. They're featuring some big Bay Area names. Mitchell's, Old Town Creamery, Fenton's.
Oh, wow. The legends, the classics. That sounds like it could become a major community hub. Huge potential.
It really does. And interestingly, your notes mentioned the next Lafayette Connectors meeting is actually planned to be held at the Scoop.
They're moving the meeting there already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which just shows how quickly these new spots can become part of the community fabric. It's a great way to integrate a new business right away.
Smart. What about larger events?
There's the Lafayette Art and Wine Festival Mixer coming up July 30th. That's open to all members, and it includes vendor booths for businesses and nonprofits alike.
Art, wine, local businesses. Sounds like a great opportunity for broader visibility, bigger connections.
Exactly. And your notes also pointed out the Chamber's consistent ongoing activities. Beyond just these big meetings, the Business Women's Group with that smart alternating schedule we mentioned.
Right.
Young professionals events, volunteer opportunities, educational speakers like some from the Better Business Bureau recently. It shows this steady effort to provide ongoing value, keep the momentum going.
Okay, so we've pulled out some incredible detail from your Lafayette meeting notes and the community buzz, but your sources didn't stop there, did they? They included related material that, especially when you look at it through the lens of this meeting, really shines a light on some bigger, maybe even global trends in community building, entrepreneurship. Let's dig into those connections.
Yes, absolutely. The source material discussed using tools like AI audits.
AI audibles. That sounds interesting. Like a coach calling an audible in a game, adjusting on the fly.
Precisely that idea. It's presented as vital for staying current because AI tech is just evolving so incredibly rapidly. Your source notes even suggested the pace of change might be faster now than ever before, maybe measured in months.
Wow. And there's that pretty powerful quote in the source material, too. Something like, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody else who knows how to use AI.
Yeah, that really hammers home the need for continuous learning, doesn't it? Makes the case for ongoing AI education very, very starkly. And related to that, the source material also discussed using specific tools like mailoff.lay, which, hey, we actually saw an example of being used at the meeting.
Right, for email marketing.
Exactly, using it to invite people to events, promote participants. It's presented as this kind of fusion of modern digital tools, maybe like using AI to optimize your networking approach and more traditional media marketing techniques.
Sounds like an innovative way to get visibility, blending old and new. And speaking of fusion, your sources mentioned FinFit Life, represented by Ron Horry, described less as just a company and more as a movement focused on healthy, wealthy, and happy. So health, wealth, lifestyle.
Yeah, and what's compelling there is how it seems to exemplify this growing trend, the fusion of wellness and financial services. Aiming to tackle both physical health, being overweight was mentioned as an example, and financial situations, all on one platform.
Interesting combination.
And it's a financial services startup, but with a global strategy, expanding internationally too. Your sources highlighted it as possibly unique for combining these areas using incentives and gamification.
Gamification,
Like earning gift cards for walking points, things like that. Linking physical activity directly to financial rewards.
huh, that's quite a hook.
Yeah, and there were connections noted to medical testing companies too for early cancer detection.
Okay.
And the whole mission sounds like it's meant to be actively lived out, not just talk, like the team doing workouts together. Plus, it offers a platform for people wanting to be their own boss, with a big emphasis on coaching and mentoring, which ties back to that idea of building something for yourself and helping others do it too.
It really does. And the AI super campus was mentioned too, right? Described as both a physical place and a movement.
Yeah, your notes mentioned a specific Lafayette property that sounded pretty amazing, mind-blowing. Set in nature, trees, deer, turkeys, hawks.
Wow.
Described as this tranquil, relaxing environment. Great for thinking, learning, growing. And this connects to something called the Great Discovery, which is envisioned as the location for something really ambitious, the podcast listening library of the American Dream.
Okay, unpack that a bit. A podcast listening library of the American dream.
Yeah, the idea isn't a literal library of podcasts, but more like a structured, curated resource, both physical and digital, designed to export the American dream globally, to protect its spirit, its mindset, teach what the new American dream looks like, help people plan and prep their companies.
So the AI super campus and these AI audibles, the ultimate goal seems tied to creating this global resource, this library for people wanting to be, quote, American dream creators, helping people get heard, not just be content creators lost in the noise.
Exactly. By being in the right place, engaging with specific content, like podcast listening with world-class teachers, as the notes put it, it definitely presents a very specific vision for leveraging tech and community to spread ideas globally.
And that brings us back to that fusion and assembly line concept mentioned in your sources, doesn't it? The idea that what we're doing right now, this deep dive, reviewing these notes, it's kind of like assembling and reassembling content for listening.
Right. And the meeting itself, that connectors meeting, was seen as just the start of that assembly line. People move from that rapid networking
Well, 30-second rounds.
to potentially more in-depth meetings, one-on-ones or maybe groups, like that trifecta concept mentioned, 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 gatherings, seen as really time-efficient ways to build synergy.
Okay.
And combining these in-person interactions with media like the AI models we talked about helps build someone's media presence alongside their real-world connections. It shows this coordinated strategy for building both networks and visibility.
And your notes even included a practical tip for integrating learning with activity, the Japanese walking technique.
Oh, right. The 3x3 walking, like 3 minutes normal pace, 3 minutes faster repeat, to make walking more intentional while you're listening to something or learning. It's simple, but it highlights that focus on being deliberate with your time for physical and mental growth.
Mm-hmm. And the source material circled back again to the importance of who you network with, emphasizing connecting with smart people, specifically those using AI effectively, maybe from top universities. The goal again being, well, helping others get smart through continued AI education.
Yeah, getting smarter not just professionally, but in all parts of life. Building relationships, combating loneliness, moving away from, what did the notes call it? Doom scrolling?
Yeah, that endless negative feed.
And brain rot, that mental fog from just passively consuming stuff. The aim is cultivating real long-term friendships
Ah,
through a blend of in-person and, yes, even ChatGPT networking.
using AI to network.
Maybe using AI to refine your approach, research connections, craft follow-ups. The value of those long-term friendships was really explicitly highlighted as vital.
Gotcha. And Ron Horry's role at FinFit, it was framed as more than just a business leader, wasn't it? Like a guide.
Yeah, described as a guide, someone who helps people, listens, really super serves clients, and understands how to leverage tools like AI.
It does feel like these broader concepts, well, distinct from the specific meeting notes, they definitely resonate with those themes we saw playing out in the meeting itself. Community building, leveraging tech, personal growth. They really show how local initiatives can be these micro expressions of much bigger macro trends.
Absolutely.
So thinking about everything we've just unpacked from your notes and sources, the nitty-gritty of that Lafayette meeting, the specific businesses, the nonprofits, that really unique networking style, and then these related bigger ideas like AI audibles, FinFit, the whole vision for an American Dream Library. Here's a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over.
Yeah, consider this truly unique mix we encountered just in that one meeting snapshot. You've got a 40-year goldsmith, right? Preserving these deep craft skills, side by side with a chiropractor who has this incredibly specific focus on just two vertebrae. You have a third-generation family business putting down deeper roots, expanding locally, and then you have nonprofits sending actual mermaids to visit sick kids, while also doing the really hard, essential work of supporting foster youth. And all this is happening alongside entrepreneurs actively weaving AI into their daily local operations and this vision for a global American Dream Library.
So the question is, what does that particular combination, that blend of deep, specific expertise, intergenerational stability, highly focused innovation, profound and varied compassion, and forward-thinking tech integration, what does that tell you about what truly forms the resilient and prosperous bedrock of a local community in today's world? What are those essential, maybe sometimes unexpected layers that really hold a place like this together and drive it forward, bridging the local and the global, the traditional and the cutting edge?